Okay. Well, hi.
Hi,
This
Heather.
is this is interesting. It's the first time I've done an interview by myself with a person I've never met. So it's nice to meet you. Would you
Nice
like
to
to
meet you too, Heather.
say your name, where you are, a very little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My name is Tomas Diveky. I live in Europe, in Slovakia. I am 36 years old and live in a small town called Trenčín.
Okay. I have
If
no idea
that's,
where that is. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
okay,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. If that is okay for you.
Yeah, that's lovely. So the first question that we have is, who are you as a person? What are some of your interests, your qualities? Who are you?
Well, what comes to my mind firstly that I'm a husband, actually married to a beautiful and loving wife. That's the first thing. I'm also a son of my parents and a friend of many people around me. Um, I would say I'm a homemade musician, uh, which means for me that I love to play piano, and I play piano. I start to learn playing piano from my 6 years old. Yeah. And I love to sing songs, especially in the shower. But also if there's opportunity wherever to sing with my friends and my family. So I can say I have a very big passion for music, and music has some really big impact of who I am. And also I have a book addiction. I can say I'm a book addict. I love to read books, and I'm interested very deeply in other people. I love to meet other people, and I'm curious about lives of other people, their stories, their history, uh, and what am I? Or what I have a passion for? I have a passion, I could say, for intimacy. Um, in many kind of ways or thoughts about intimacy. I'm really curious about intimacy in marriage, in friendship, in meeting the clients, and discovering how intimacy can change the contact, or is changing myself, it's changing other people I'm in contact with. And what else? I think it's for
I'm
this
sure there's
moment
more.
all.
I'm
Yeah,
sure there's
I
more.
can add. Yeah.
It will come out.
Mm-hmm.
So another question that we have is almost speaking of intimacy and interrelation. Who would be another person who has impacted who you are as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and how?
Mm. I could say when I was a child, definitely it was my parents, because they teach me um, the value of having a family. What is the value of having a family? And also, they teach me what is bad in relationships, what not to do to the other person, and how can be a relationship also harmful to the other. I don't know if that was their expectations, but definitely they learned me uh, how to do and not do things in life. And the next one was my grandmother from my father's side, because she was a teacher in an elementary school for whole her life, and I can remember that she was a very, the here and now person, as I can use the Gestalt language. She was very present, and she was curious about almost anything in the family members and people around her. So being with her was quite an amazing experience. How to not judge people, but be also interested in minority, maybe people who are not so like gifted, or you know people who don't have much in their lives. So that was a pretty sure it was a very good background for me, and who made a breakthrough in my life was definitely a woman psychiatrist. Uh, Maybe if it will be better when I tell you the story about the influence. Uh, well, many years ago, my family decided that it would be a good thing that I became a medical doctor. So when I graduated from the high school, I started to study at the medical school at university. And by the first year, I realized that medicine is not good for me. That is, that was a step, you know, um, in not a good place, and the studying for me was very demanding, and I became a very miserable person because I had problems with memorizing facts, and I didn't understand so much, and the science about the human body was very hard for me, and I didn't first 2 years I didn't realize uh, to do nothing with it, and when I begin my third year of studying medicine, there was a subject called, I think you remember, it was health psychology. And health psychology was a very easy examination. It was, an examination when everybody was learning and studying 24 hours, because it's it's not it was not so big thing to understand psychology in medicine. You are trained to heal patients and not for psychology. But I remember that I went to the library 2 weeks before the exam and started reading the textbook. And it sounds very meaningful to me. I understand almost everything from the textbook, and it was connecting to real people's life. At least I understand it that way. So after 2 weeks of reading the book and studying, I went to the examination, and there was the woman psychiatrist who led the exam, and every one of my fellow students was there 5 or 10 minutes. And I was there almost an hour, and she was asking me questions about psychology, and then we began to talk about life questions and stuff like that. And after the conversation, she asked me, Tomas, you really don't like to study medicine, do you? And I said, yes, that's true. And she told me, write a letter to a psychology department, and became a psychologist. So when I was walking down the streets from the university, I felt very light at that moment. And I think I let go such a very, very big introject, a family introject, and had so much courage, you know, inside me to start to live my life on my own, without, you know, doubts of what I want to do in my life in the future. But the other thing was I needed to face my family. I needed to face my parents by this decision. So it was very dramatic, actually, times for me, because I faced um, some anger, some untrust, and it takes a lot of time to be accepted as a psychologist and as a student of psychology. But this particularly, I don't want to say exam, but I want to say this particular meeting changed me profoundly, you know. And the last person who changed me and changing me also day by day is my wife. In being patient, in you know, don't look so much in the future, and try to be present. And she learned me actually so much about the difference. Thanks to her, I'm definitely a person who is very accepted to difference, because we two are absolutely different in you know, many things and many ways perceiving life and each other and the world. So yeah.
I'm curious, how long have you been married?
Oh, it's not a big time.
Mhm.
It's not a long time. It's 2 years, and we know each other for, I suppose, 5 or 6 years.
I'm just curious because a lot of people talk about marriages and these have been very long marriages. I didn't imagine that yours had been, you know, a 30-year
Yeah,
marriage at this point. So I was just curious.
yeah.
Um,
I think our process in marriage is pretty quick.
mhm. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's beautiful.
Okay. Well, one of the other questions that we have is what event, I mean, this significant conversation was obviously an event, but what event or circumstance in your life would you say has shaped who you are as a person?
Mm, I think the meeting of the psychiatrist in that exam was, yes, as I told, that it was a very, very powerful moment. Mm. I think that particular events of telling people that I would like to live my life of my own, and breaking up from a very um, disastrous relationship I had for 10 years actually, and the breaking up was really important situation in my life that also changed me to be sensitive what I need in life, be sensitive to my own needs, and be sensitive of not to let myself manipulate in what other person wants. So um, definitely the decision of not come back to a relationship which was very long. Yeah.
Okay. And so that is a bit about who you are. So how did you come to Gestalt, which is kind of the meeting point for everyone in this series? It's like, how did you get here?
Yeah. I used to say that uh, after I realized that I want to study psychology, I started to live a Gestalt life, even though I don't know much about Gestalt
It just
theory.
accidentally happened.
Yeah. It was completely. Um, but how I met Gestalt therapy. Um, I think it was when I was a student of psychology. As I love books, I read almost everything about psychotherapy and other schools, from psychoanalysis to systemic therapy and stuff like that. And once in a university bookshop, I found a book which was very orange. You know, the color color was so intense. So maybe it was something connected to Gestalt and colors. I don't know, but the book was written by Jennifer McCune, if I spelled her name good. Uh, the name of the book was Gestalt Therapy and Counseling, I think. And I started to read that book and realized that in one moment, wow, somebody is writing about my experience. Somebody is writing about life I'm living and I'm experiencing. So if there's more people with similar experience and more people with um, seeing the life uh, from that particular point of view, that would be very, very beautiful to meeting that people and you know um, connect to Gestalt philosophy and Gestalt psychotherapy. So after I get my master's degree, I have no doubts to sign myself to a Gestalt therapy training. So and then I met my teachers and people who also shaped me very, very much in my life, and helped me to find um, what I want to, go through the journey of life for this adventure.
And what is it that most interests you or most attracts you about Gestalt? I mean, the orange book, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, the orange color still
Yes,
is in my
but
mind.
what is the orange part of Gestalt? What
Orange
is the
part of
thing
this,
that you
yeah,
like?
that is very, very nicely. Uh, yeah, uh, mm, I think the possibility of meet the other not in a shallow way. The possibility to um, be interested in what the other person is bringing the contact, or what is and how other person is making his own journey, his own adventure. So I can say I'm particularly interested in Gestalt therapy of I could say of presence, and how to be present with a human being, and how to be curious. So I could say it's what we know as a beginning of the cycle that attracts me a lot, because I think that in the beginning of the Gestalt cycle, in the beginning of contact, uh, there is a treasure. I could say that we need to, or we can, dig and pop up or pull up from whatever emerges um, from from the meeting. And I have an experience that people have so much energy and courage to do things, but it's also my experience. But it is very important to stay uh, at the beginning part of every contact we have, because um, maybe it's my experience from therapy, and also my own therapy, and also from my country, that there is and I had so much feelings of shame, actually. um, being a student of psychology was pretty, in some parts, it was also pretty shaming. uh, Being in a bad relationship for many years was shaming in some ways. So when I as I work with addicts mostly in my practice, um, I very much I am very much in contact with shame. So that the process of shame and the contact with shame is also that I'm most attracted in Gestalt, and it is also connected to maybe what I said before, that it's connected to the beginning of the cycle, and to the presence, and to the curiosity of another person.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I was going to ask what your involvement is with Gestalt, and where you take it. So you've said a bit about that. You practice mostly with addicts,
Mm-hmm.
and what
Yeah.
else do you do? Either
Well,
outside
addicts.
Gestalt or with Gestalt.
Yeah. I mostly practice with addicts. It's that I most practice in group therapy. So because I'm working in a psychiatric department, so uh, we have a group of addicts, and I like this work pretty much, and I found my involvement in addict therapy or Gestalt therapy with addicts the most profound uh, by these days in time that I'm involved in Gestalt therapy, in practicing Gestalt therapy. I think another involvement is I try to grow. I try to understand myself better. Try to understand other people and their needs. So I hope another involvement is growing in interest of other people, growing in acceptance for the difference of the other, even though it is an addict or a borderline patient or neurotic person. So very complex.
It is, it is. But I'm very interested in what you're saying about intimacy and curiosity and relationship with the other. Um, so how has either what you've done or what you've learned within Gestalt changed you as a person?
That's a surprise question. Oh yeah. Um, hmm,
I mean, it's not simple. It's not cause and
no,
effect, obviously. So it's
yeah, because many situation comes to my mind, but mm, I think I would say the meeting Jay Levine and Talibar Yosef was uh, unforgettable.
and then what
Um,
happened with you with that?
I start to perceive myself as a valuable human being, and I started to not hide myself behind a mask of maybe a guy who likes to joke or is sometimes cynical and sometimes dramatical and they really open a door in me um, to to help me or myself to uh, the sense of belonging to the world, belonging to other people, um, feel safe somehow. Um, and definitely they encourage me for many creative things I do in life, and they encourage me to disagree with some you know disagree with some people. Yeah, that is a really good point. That I was a very confluent person, and they helped me what I could call a process of deconfluencing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and also passion for details. I think that is a contribution of Tali, that she learned me how to be uh, you know, a detail focused person, not overcome many important details, actually.
Hmm. Okay. Well, another question is, you're mentioning now certain trainers or teachers. Do you feel like you are part of a Gestalt community? Does that phrase mean anything to you?
Definitely yes. This is a very easy answer for me, because since I allow myself to became more visible in Gestalt world, especially I mean AGT for now, uh, and also the Slovak Association of Gestalt Therapy. Uh, I found um, a bunch of brilliant people and friends, I could say, and people who are able to share many things. So being a part of Gestalt community means for me to um, meet people who are very different in some way, but I use the metaphor, who are very attracted to orange.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a wonderful thing, a wonderful opportunity.
Mhm. Okay, and this is a question which some people are interested in answering and some are not, and that's fine. Um, how have you experienced yourself, your gender, or your being a man in the Gestalt context?
Mhm. Wow, that is a very interesting question. Mhm. Mm. The first what comes to my mind is that I feel grounded, and it's not because most of the big names in Gestalt therapy are men, and I don't want to say I'm trying to belong to the big names. Um, Maybe I could say that it's because um, there is so much enriching women in Gestalt from the gender perspective, and it is for me an honor to you know um, see myself as a differentiation. I'm not sure that it's understandable, or, or if I'm clear in my answer. But yeah, I don't want to say it in another way. I want to say it this way, that being a man in a Gestalt community, um, is a grounding experience because of so much brilliant women.
Okay.
I maybe I need more time to rethink this, but it's the first thought.
That's fine.
What
That's
comes,
fine.
yeah.
And I don't know what we'll do with the thoughts that come after. I mean, I think that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
but
first part of a
yeah,
conversation. But
it was the first thought, so
mhm,
yeah.
that's fine. Thank you. And this is another nice part. This is one of those questions where you get to tell a story. So,
Yeah.
do you have a greatest memory, a favorite moment around Gestalt as a trainer, as a therapist, as a teacher, as a student, as a client?
Mhm.
Is there a moment that stands out to you?
Um, I think one of the moments is when I was in my, basic Gestalt training after I graduate. Mm, was in a dialogue with my trainer in the institute, and I was talking about loneliness because I experienced loneliness a big part of my life, big part of my childhood. I experienced so much of loneliness, and when I was speaking about my loneliness in my training, the trainer was um, actually holding me. Um, and it was very nourishing and safe moment for me, and I was crying almost the whole dialogue, and I can still feel the hug and
Mhm.
the pleasure of being held, and the moment with my trainer. Yeah, so that one, and the other one was when we sang a song, Italy, after we finished the advanced Gestalt training. It was Bridge of Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. So singing that song to Tali was a very powerful moment, I
Hmm.
remember.
Wow. Hmm. Okay. And on the other side of that, what would you say has been your most challenging moment around anything in Gestalt therapy?
Yeah. Oh, I have one. Um, very challenging moment. I didn't pass the certification for the first
Oh.
time. So it was very challenging because the trainers told me that I need to study, Gestalt therapy 1 year more and do 1 year more supervision and my own individual therapy. And at the first moment, I was very angry on them. I was furious, I could say, because it was it was some kind of narcissistic wound in a way, and I feel disconnect from for for time. I feel disconnect from Gestalt and for my training. But you know, when we bounce to a boundary, I think there is a bunch of opportunities that we can, you know, use for ourselves and to grow. So the challenge was study 1 year more and go to the examination and certification after 1 year. So that was the most challenging moment in my Gestalt training to you know, see the beauty in in a bouncing on a boundary. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say it sounds like a challenge to accept the gift of another year. I know that it would have been very challenging for me to add another year, but and
I
you
was blind.
did.
I was blind to that for some time, but it was a big experience. Also, this experience shaped me as a human being because I started to connect with humbleness and slow down and wait and be patient. And I could say I started to do therapy not from a textbook and not from the phrases of Gestalt, but actually started to do therapy from heart.
Hmm. Well, the last question is, now what are you going to do with it? What would you like to do with this with yourself in the future, or where do you think Gestalt might go in the future?
Okay. Oh, two really tough questions. Yeah.
You can say I don't know, that's fine.
Yeah, definitely I can say I don't know. Where I'm going to go with Gestalt and with my life, I don't know. I used the opportunity. Well, actually, I don't know. I hope I will grow and I will practice Gestalt therapy. Definitely, that's my wish to practice, you know, as much as I can practice Gestalt therapy and as much as I can be a part, an active part of the community, because it's wonderful to be an active part of some community. And answer for the other questions of where Gestalt is going, uh, maybe one thing that comes to my mind is uh, that it needs or it will be a need of intergenerational dialogue. Maybe I'm not sure if it happens or if maybe some of the intergenerational dialogue starts. But I think that this will be an important part of involving and evolving Gestalt therapy in the future. Maybe prediction.
Okay. Well, unless, do you have anything you would like to add right now to this?
Mm.
Anything more that you'd like to say?
I'm pretty tired, actually.
Yes, I've kept you up late, and this was
Yeah.
a lot. Um,
Uh, yeah, just one thing that I experienced Gestalt as a wonderful place to meet, and wonderful place and opportunity to live life. However hard or easy it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It was
Thank you.
really very nice to meet you. If that's okay with you, should we stop the recording here?
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, thank you.